Hi, I'm Eric Kane.
And I'm Paul Tassi.
This is the Two Player Podcast, or sometimes we like to call it the Walking Dead Podcast, which is a super original name for a podcast, I know. So last week was the episode where Negan valiantly escaped Jadis, Carol miraculously found Henry, and Rick and Morgan were sons of bitches. Truly
Yep,
sons of bitches.
that
Yeah.
about sums it up.
All right. Thanks for listening to our podcast.
Yeah, okay. So I guess we'll start with the Rick and Morgan stuff, where they get captured by the Saviors, a herd attacks. Rick swears they can come back to the hilltop and just reverse their mistake, and if they untie them, they'll help them. That happens. They are temporarily all fighting side by side. One guy even saves Rick directly and gives him a little bro nod. And then when the situation calls for it, Rick just decides to turn on everyone with Morgan and they murder all the surviving saviors.
It was
Um,
messed up.
yeah.
Messed up.
So, okay, I get what they're trying to do here. Like they're trying to push Rick really, really far into a really horrible place. So Carl is able to kind of bring him back from the brink, where this is all inevitably leading up to some scene where he's going to end up sparing Negan even after murdering like 96 other saviors.
Yeah.
The old video game final boss choice where you
Yeah.
kill thousands of henchmen, but then you have a do not kill, do kill boss choice at the end.
Right.
Um, but I don't know. It's making me really dislike Rick.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like this has been a long time coming. It's not just like this one scene. It's been a lot of stuff where Rick and everyone have been kind of the whole instigators of the Savior War, where they're like executing sleeping saviors. And there was a scene where Daryl was executing like surrendering prisoners. And at that point, I thought maybe there was going to be a split where it's like Rick and Daryl have two different ideas of like how things should go, where Daryl's like merciless and Rick's like, okay, let's calm down. And now Rick's like even further past that. So it's been kind of obnoxious to say.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is the problem. Like that would have been a great character conflict, right? That would have been really interesting to see Rick and Daryl sort of over an extended part of the season or the entire season, even drifting further apart and having a clash of. I just wrote this piece about the 100 and what it does better than The Walking Dead, and that's what you see in that show a lot. You see characters having a conflict of beliefs, and they are both. Even when both characters are trying to do the right thing, they have radically different views about what the method, the means to that ought to be. And in The Walking Dead, you just kind of get this mushy like Rick's against it for a minute. He doesn't want to let the zombies into the sanctuary because there's innocence there. And then, a few episodes later, he's throwing a hatchet into a guy's neck from behind who just helped him. And yeah, it has the effect of making us not like Rick at all.
Yeah, and I don't even understand the purpose of that. Like, I don't see what would have been wrong with just saving the last like three dudes and like sending them back to the hilltop like they were going to. Like, I don't
Right.
see the downside of that. I get Morgan killing the one guy who was like just terrible, and that was an awesome death scene.
Yeah, it was a good death
Um,
scene.
but I don't know, turning on the guys who were clearly willing to help them, I don't understand that, and it just really
It's not
kind
like
of
they did
it
anything
distances
horrible.
me. Yeah, it like distanced me from. And what did they? I mean, they were savior soldiers in the first place, but they escaped and they just ran away. They didn't like murder a bunch of people themselves at the hilltop or something.
Right.
And
They just ran away. That's literally all they did.
I don't know. I'm hoping this is as far as Rick goes, because like I don't even know what he could do at this point. Like start murdering like savior children or something. Like
Yeah.
seriously, but like I get it at this point, and okay, now it's time to reel it in a bit. And I mean, he read Carl's letter, and I don't know what earth-shattering things Carl could have said in like three paragraphs to make him realize that killing is wrong. But like, I was also a little confused because I thought Rick already read his letter, but I guess he just read Negan's letter.
I guess so.
That was
I don't.
confusing, and like I'm sure Rick's and Negan's letter say similar things, like about because Negan's letter was like, "Oh, I don't want to fight anymore," and you guys should stop and whatever, whatever. So
Yeah.
see, I am curious as to what's in Carl's letter to make Rick react that strongly.
Actually, it's Morales. He's in the letter. He just pops
It's
out of
just
the letter
Morales,
and
like,
he's
hey
like,
guys.
Rick, I'm angry at you for being you who you are. And it's like Morales is back.
Well, yeah, and then
Woo!
Rick was mad at Daryl like 5 episodes ago for killing Morales when
Yeah, and
Rick
the other
wasn't
guy
going to
that
kill him, I presume. So it's, I don't know. I guess Carl's death has just really sent him over the edge. But even though Carl's
yeah.
death is not directly connected to the Saviors, but
The
it's
dialogue is just so bad too.
yeah,
Like half the dialogue in that episode is just almost like nonsense talk. You know?
yeah.
Like I get it from Morgan because he's crazy, but there's just so much of that kind of like vague, like you know what it is, like just weird, just conversations normal people don't have. I'm just really curious how they're writing. You know, I went back and watched. So there's the parallel between the scene in the bar where they kill the saviors and the episode in season 2, Nebraska, where they Herschel and Rick and Glenn are in the bar and those two guys, Dave and Tony, show up and they want to go back to the farm with them, but they're obviously like bad guys.
Hmm.
And then Rick shoots them when he pulls the gun, and it's like the first time Rick kills another person.
Yeah.
That's like a really intense scene. It's got great writing. Like it all feels like real people are talking. And nowadays you watch it and it's like, what are these conversations people are having?
Well, they keep doing all these throwbacks to these old scenes, but they're not. They don't land like they used to. You know what I mean? Like
Right?
it
Because
reminds me. It reminds you of how much better it used to be,
yeah,
instead of what it's trying to do. And I guess one of the other parallels we saw this week was Carol actually managing to find Henry against all odds, and like that
yeah,
mirroring Sophia. Um,
right down to the tree roots
yep, down to the tree roots. That
in the
was
river.
a little
Yeah,
on the nose, but okay. I don't know. I thought that was good, and like Lord knows, I'm tired of like horrible tragedies every 12 hours on The Walking Dead. So it was
right.
nice that he was found alive. I don't like his character, and I don't think he's done a particularly great job. Like, no offense to child actor, but I,
Well, it's gotten
the
bad
way the
writings.
way he's been written has been not great. Do you know he's the brother of Sophia's
Mhm.
actress?
Yep, I know
Yeah,
that. It's
that's
crazy.
pretty cool. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it was a kind of a heartwarming moment for Ezekiel and Carol and everyone. So
Yeah, and I think you can't just have every child that she comes into contact with die.
yeah, it
You
was like
know, it's a
literally
little much.
what 3 or 4 at this point with Mika and Lizzie and um, there's a lot.
Well, that's the real problem is that first of
Sam.
all, the way that Sophia her death is revealed was amazing back in season 2 when she comes out of the barn. And then the way that the whole Lizzie thing, well, that actress was really good, first of all, and that was a really intense uh, when she kills her sister and thinks she's going to kill baby Judith like that, and then Carol has to kill her.
Hmm.
That's really intense and powerful. But then you get to like Sam, and it just starts going downhill, and it's like, okay, we can't just keep having these children come into Carol's life over and over again with the same kind of outcome. And Henry being like the least interesting of them all. Like at least Sam was kind of like
Sam was
weird.
quirky. I'll give him that.
Yeah, it was annoying but weird, but interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I still like whenever they're, she's sitting around talking with Ezekiel, I'm just like, please stop it with the Shakespearean stuff. It's really getting
I'm
old.
confused when he's talking to Carol because like he's dropped the act with Carol like a bunch of times. So I'm kind of surprised he does it when it's just the two of them.
I know, it's
That's
so weird.
surprising.
If it's just the two of them, he should always have his act dropped. But
Yeah.
at least he's not. What was he saying in the first part of the season? Yeah,
And yet I smile.
yet I smiled.
Hmm.
Oh my god. I want Gavin to show up in one of Morgan's hallucinations and say that instead of you know what it is, just for shits and giggles.
Yeah. What else? Oh,
They should
okay.
fire every writer on this show. I'm sorry,
Just
they
hire the
should.
fear cast. Yeah, the
Yeah,
dialogue is
just yeah.
rough.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's objectively bad, and this isn't even an opinion anymore. The dialogue is objectively bad in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
So is the editing. What, like, okay, in the Negan Jadis part, okay, like, well, first of all, they're obviously trying to paint Negan in the opposite direction as Rick. So they're just trying to like really like make him look better and Rick look worse.
right.
But how did he get the stuff out of that bag exactly? How did he
Quite the
get the
magic trick. All
flare?
right, I will give him. You can have him get a gun, a flare, or photos. You cannot have him get all three
And
at
have
the
the
same
photos
time.
underneath the flare and like what the heck?
Yeah,
How
I
it
was
was
like,
like
man, that
she walked
was
away.
quite the acrobatics.
it
I
was
just
so
I feel
strange.
like there was just a better way to set up that scene in general. Like have him like cut the ropes or something, or like I just escape or brute strength out of it or something. But the way that was set up, where he just scoots over and then instantly teleports to have a gun, a flare, and the photos.
Yeah.
I'm like, this had to have been a setup. Like that gun has to be empty because there's no way like this would be that stupid.
Well, what for me it was I was just felt like I missed a scene or something because at one moment he's laying there tied up and trying to scoot along, and literally the next moment he has all those things. They don't show him getting those things at all.
Yeah.
Is that weird?
Yes.
It was
And
like when Rick got knocked out. Like they show him looking at like the arm on the ground, and then it's like there's a sound effect and it goes black. Like what happened?
yeah, they need just like 10 more seconds of scenes sometimes, and they just don't do them, and they end up cut, or they didn't exist in the first place, which is very weird. But
Well, it's like, yeah, we need to have Rick knocked out. How do we do that? I don't know. Let's just cut to black. Okay, that sounds easy. Like, oh, you can't have someone like jump out from behind them and hit him over the head. Like you can't show that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It's these little things like this that just really throw everything off. It doesn't take much.
yeah, that was weird. But
What do you think of the whole Negan Jadis interaction, though?
so one thing I heard was there's a theory now that Simon was the one to have executed all the men at Seaside.
Oh yeah,
And it wasn't Negan, because Negan is trying to stick to his like only kill a couple people at most principles. Those great principles of his. I thought the
yes,
scene with
it's
them
the
was
principle.
probably one of the better interactions of the episode. And I like Jadis now that she's not a crazy trash person who has a weird manner of speech and stuff. Um, and I don't know. I thought Negan was being genuinely sympathetic, and I think that's what they're obviously trying to do, like you said. In terms of plot points, obviously the helicopter is a very big deal, as
Hmm.
this entire I don't know. This has me actually interested in the show again, just for this reason, because I want to know what the hell's up with the helicopter, who Jadis really is, what the trash dump really is, like why there are these pristine living quarters and solar panels and
Yeah,
rations, and like what the hell is going on? Like this, and even, as a comic reader, I have no frame of reference because this is nothing from the comics. Like some people think this might be the Commonwealth, which is this big settlement that is like just starting up in the comics plotline, but I don't think that's it. I think they're doing something different and new, and I think they're going to go in a different direction from the comics going forward. That's my theory.
that's good.
Um,
I loved her little apartment thing, her little shipping container,
I was so
the
confused
pristine
when the
living
episode opened. I'm
quarters.
like, what is this place? Why does she have Negan's
I know.
bat? Is that a different bat? Like,
Are there multiple
what happened?
Lucille's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like how she just let him go like that. I felt like the whole scene had no payoff other than the helicopter.
Yeah.
You know, it's like she takes him prisoner, and then because his plot armor is so very thick, she lets him go. And it's like, couldn't she leverage his being a captive somehow? Like, is there nothing else she could do other than like
Yeah, I don't
bring out
really
one
get
of
why
her
she
creepy
lets him
zombie
go. I guess
things?
she's not too pleased with Rick lately, but it seems like you would have tried to get more out of that situation than just tying him up. But what was she
Yeah,
doing
she
with
could
the
have.
zombie with the skewers? Was that like to
I don't
kill
know.
Negan, or was that part of the thing she was doing with the helicopter? Like I was so confused as to
That's
what
very
was
confusing.
happening. Like because there was one scene where it's like, okay, she's has Negan captured and is gonna torture him or something. I don't know. But then she's also trying to signal. Maybe she was trying to take him with her in the helicopter to wherever
Yeah,
they're
that could
going.
have been.
I don't know. But
Why didn't the helicopter see
yeah,
them?
the
You don't need
helicopter
a
really
flare
could
in
have
the middle
seen
of
like
the
seen
day.
them. It's not like a jet plane flying like 3 miles
Right.
above the sky. It was
Or
like
at
really
night.
close.
At night, you'd need a flare, but in the middle of broad daylight, they would have absolutely seen you, and they knew where to look and everything. They should have had that scene take place at night. Although, to be fair, the lighting that they use in night shots is terrible. They have no idea
You
how to
mean the
light a
lack of
dark scene.
lighting?
Right. I mean, I get that it's supposed to be dark, but when you're making a film or a television show, you still have to have lighting in dark scenes. They doesn't isn't supposed to look just like real life.
Yeah.
This show, it's just amateur hour every week.
Yep.
You know,
Is this a good
you
time to
watch.
pivot to the far superior
Oh
sister
yeah,
show, Fear the
definitely.
Walking Dead, which is doing almost everything right instead?
It's amazing. It's amazing because okay, so by the time this, well, yeah, we're going to post this podcast this week, so we're still a ways out from the premiere of Fear the Walking Dead, but we're beyond the embargo now, so we can at least talk about it. We're going to try not to spoil too much of it, but we're gonna touch on some of the basic plot points and some of the I don't know what some of the how we felt watching it. And I will say that like just about everything about Fear the Walking Dead is in the
Miles
first
better.
two episodes of season 4. It's just miles better. Yeah, there's actually what's really interesting is that you can watch it in action in the very first episode. You can see there are scenes of the Walking Dead cast uh, talking with Morgan before Morgan goes over to the Fear the Walking Dead. There are several scenes of conversations, and they are just awful. They're just like scenes from The Walking Dead. They're the vague, weird conversation. It's not shot very well or very interestingly. Like these are obviously the points in the show that are basically The Walking Dead, and then everything else is Fear the Walking Dead, and it's so much better. Uh, the acting, the writing, I love the new characters. I mean, don't you love what was it, Garrett
Garrett
Dillahunt?
Dillahunt. Yeah, I
He
mean,
is
both Garrett
so
Dillahunt and
good.
Maggie Grace are really
Yes.
great. I can't remember the third actress. I'm a little less sold on hers for now, but
Oh, the from Will and
yeah,
Grace.
yeah.
No, not Will, not Will,
No,
Dharma
Dharma and
and
Greg.
Greg.
Um,
That's what I meant to say. Dharma
I
and
can't
Greg.
remember her name
Yeah.
offhand.
Well, she's in it a lot less too so far. So,
Yeah, but no, Garrett
um,
Dillahunt kind of opens the season, and right away, I mean, it's weird because he's one of those like Walking Dead characters where they're kind of exaggerated and they have like a really distinct manner of
mhm,
speech, and like we normally complain about those type of people, but he
like
just
Eugene or
yeah,
yeah.
like Eugene or even Negan or Jadis the way she used to be, but he's essentially just this like really nice cowboy, which in Texas I guess can make more sense. And I don't know, he's just great, and you immediately like him. And we're not going to get into like specific story stories, but like his first interactions are with Morgan, and we're not going to tell you how Morgan gets there or whatever. But it's just kind of a cool dynamic that's set up initially, and
Yeah.
which leads to some really excellent action sequences.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
surprisingly
It's
so.
really great.
Uh,
Yeah, his character is very quirky. Like that's he's we don't know why necessarily, but he is just a very interesting, and he's just given such interesting lines. Like really, he's got almost a monologue at the beginning of the episode, and it's just gripping. I found it just really. I just was watching every moment of it
it
with
does a really
rapt
good job of
attention. You
setting
know.
up his character, because like
Hmm.
normally when you introduce a new character it's like, oh, should we trust them, should we not? But in his case, he's kind of monologuing to no one, so it's like, why would he lie? And
Yeah.
so it
Yes, it's a real
yeah,
soliloquy.
no,
You
and
know,
it
it's
establishes kind of his character and his motivations and like kind of what he's doing, and like it's weird because it's just like almost straight exposition, but it works. And it's actually like a really kind of
yeah,
awesome scene in the end. And I don't know, just everything about the first two episodes is really solid. I like the direction. I like what they've done with the time skip, and we won't go into super detail about that, but um,
it
yeah,
works.
they do skip to essentially present day of The Walking Dead. So I don't know if that's at least a year or two. I'm not even sure, but I wouldn't say it's more than that. But they are caught up with the current timeline of The Walking Dead, and it's very clear
Yeah,
that AMC is going to herd these two together for some sort of big crossover down the road. Like now that they're doing this kind of Walking Dead expanded universe thing.
yeah,
And that might take a whole year or whatever, but that is definitely where they're going. And I think they'll still have two separate shows when all is said and done, and probably introduce a third show. If I had to
yeah.
guess,
Definitely, at least a
I think
third.
there's going to be a third show set outside of the country. That's my theory. Just somewhere else completely.
Canada.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah. So
Well, I hope they don't cross over anymore anytime soon because I really want to preserve the integrity of Fear the Walking Dead, and I feel like any moment that it's crossing with The Walking Dead, it's tainted by it.
it is,
Uh,
but I don't know. Like Morgan shows up, and I think he works as a character in Fear,
oh, it works
in part
great.
because Lenny James is
Well,
the best actor on the show, and Morgan can be a really great character if he's written correctly. So I it's interesting.
Well, he's given much more
Yeah, well,
interesting
I just read
stuff.
today that
Yeah.
it was his decision to go to Fear. Like he wasn't like either you're going to be killed off or you have to go to Fear. Like sorry, it was like it was suggested to him, and it was ultimately his decision whether or not he wanted to do it. And I think it's cool he decided to do it. I mean, he's going to like a lower rated, lower profile show, but
But
he's
it's
essentially like
better.
a co he's going to be like a co-lead of Fear now,
Yeah.
along kind of with Madison and her family. So I guess that's kind of a
Well,
unique
hitting
opportunity for him. So
characters.
he'll get more screen time, more lines, all that.
Yeah. I feel like John, who's Garrett Dillahunt's character, and Althea, who's Maggie Grace's character, like these are going to be they're being set up as main characters also, not just like show up for 2 episodes and
Oh
disappear.
yeah, I would
And
easily expect them to be around most of the season. I would hope that they're not killed off, but I mean it's The Walking Dead, so someone's probably going to get killed off. But um,
what we have now, though, is we have a show that has actors like Frank Delane, Alicia Debnam Carey, Garrett Dillahunt, Ruben Blades, Lenny James. I mean, the cast is fantastic
yeah, the
overall.
cast is really stellar, and it's kind of weird. Like I keep kind of feeling like this where I feel like The Walking Dead may have suffered a bit from being really low profile when it started, and then kind of having to work with what it had. Like this is going to be,
Yeah,
people will get mad about this, but I don't think Norman Reedus is a very good actor, and
I
he
agree.
like I don't
He's
even think it's
just
just a writing problem for him. I just don't think he's very good. And but he's been there for 8 9 years now, and the show's kind of stuck with him because he's this fan favorite, and they're just not going to kill him off. But I think Fear had the benefit of being able to attract kind of maybe better talents like from the outset, where you
yeah.
had these actors that were somewhat well established in their own genre shows to a certain extent. Like you had Alicia Debnam Carey as just having a great part in the 100, and you had Kim Dickens and like Justified and all the other stuff she's done, and it just and now Garrett Dillahunt and Maggie Grace, like it has more kind of drawing power, I think, than The Walking
Mhm.
Dead did initially. So I think that's helped it.
What I'm so happy about is that when we heard that the showrunner for Fear the Walking Dead was leaving after season 3, Erickson was it? Dave
I can't
Erickson?
remember.
Yeah, Dave
Okay.
Erickson. He, we both really enjoyed season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead. It really turned around the show. After season 2 was over, I thought, okay, they should just end this because this is a mess. But then season 3 came out and was just so surprising right from the beginning. I mean, with characters that were killed off early on that you just couldn't even believe they would do that. It was, and then just the great conflict with new characters like Troy, and then you hear, okay, well, Erickson's out. There's going to be new showrunners. Like, oh, we're in trouble. Maybe it's going to be ruined again. But now they come back with season 4, and I feel like it's even better. Like the just down to the cinematography.
Yeah, it is really like
I
it's just kind of on another level, like one level past The Walking Dead in terms of how it's shot. It reminds me more of Game of Thrones in that way, where it's not as
Mhm.
sweeping as that, but it's very cinematic like that. Whereas The Walking Dead feels it's more just like kind of any old show where there's not as much care put into the shots and the filming and this and that, and it's just like, oh, it's the zombie action show, like wow. And whereas Fear is trying to be something more than that.
Yeah, and not in a sort of faux artsy way. Like sometimes The Walking Dead does these weird faux artsy things, like title cards between scenes for no reason out of the blue, or like really terrible like face close ups and stuff. But there's some very like artistic shots in Fear the Walking
Yeah,
Dead. Just maybe a truck on the side of the road, but it's framed in a way that makes it look interesting. And I tell you, just the whatever cameras they're using or filters or whatever, it just makes the color palette
yeah.
feel more rich
i
and less sort of washed out.
I also think the choreography is better personally for action.
Yes.
I think it's
Oh
episode
yeah.
1, but there's a really kind of extensive action sequence with everybody,
That
and
was a
it's
great. Yeah.
it's just so well done. It reminded me of like like an elaborately scripted fight scene in like Ip Man or something, where it's not people doing kung fu, but like this action leads to this thing, which leads to this
Hmm.
thing, and it plays out in a really kind of fluid yet chaotic way, where all this kind of
Yes.
crazy stuff happens. Like, oh, there's like a soldier zombie, and someone grabs a grenade off him, and then blows up a whole trailer, while someone else is like trying to get into this armored car, and like it's just a lot
Uh
different
huh.
than kind of what you see in The Walking Dead for the most part, where like the
which
Walking
is
Dead's
like just
action
shoot.
scenes, you have Rick running Negan off the road, off camera, and then
Yeah, I know.
like
And then
hitting
shooting
a
at
bunch
his
of
car a
flaming
bunch of
zombies with a
times.
bat. Like it's not quite the same.
You know, that's the thing about The Walking Dead, why it's so irredeemable lately, is that they can't do dialogue, they can't do story, their plotting is weird, their pacing is bad, but they can't even just do an action scene
Yeah.
right. You know? Like it's like, is it too much to ask to get one of these things right?
Yep. You would
An
think.
action scene, man. Yeah, I really loved that. Those scene you're talking about, I thought was really great. And it was actually had some funny parts right before that, leading into it. And really just the whole first episode is, well, the first two episodes, because we've seen them both, are both very interesting with some nice surprises, some nice little twists and turns, and just production quality that I really wish we would see that level of production quality in The Walking Dead. I think we have in the past had a higher production
I feel
values
like
on
season
The
four or
Walking Dead.
five, it was around there, and four or five, maybe a little bit of six. That was like the peak, and you had episodes like the Grove, and you had like the Tyrese death episode, and some other ones, and I thought those were kind of more on that level, whereas now we rarely get that. It's all just fighting, essentially.
Yeah, just like everyone has an assault rifle and everyone's just shooting like tons of bullets at walls and cars and windows, and no one but extras is getting killed. That I still can't get over the week before when all the zombies just snuck up on everybody and like a whole bunch of extras died. That was just
I'm very tired of
it's just
zombies
so.
sneaking up on people in general, considering how
Oh
loud
yeah,
and
yeah.
unstealthy they are. But that's kind of a zombie trope from across zombie fiction.
I mean, at least do it in an interesting way. There was a scene. Was it? I think it was Maggie was in the sewers or something, and a zombie comes out of the sewer, like out of the water. That's an interesting way, you know. Or in Fear in season 3 when that guy from Shameless, he was
Yeah.
Troy's little
Hmm.
henchman, was like hearing something in the wall and then like gets grabbed and pulled in. That was awesome. Like that kind of stuff is what I want to see more
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Well, I mean, so watch Fear the Walking Dead. I feel like there's this whole contingent of Walking Dead fans that just don't like it for some reason, or maybe they gave up on it because it wasn't very
I
good
think
at
that people
first,
gave up
or
at season one or two and just didn't come back to it.
yeah.
But man, they really should. And like I know ratings are continuing to drop, but I it's definitely worth checking out. The last
Yeah, it really
season in
is.
particular, and this new one is starting off strong. Like who knows if it'll maintain that? But even
Yeah.
under a new showrunner, it seems to be very very strong right now.
Well, they seem to care about making a quality show, and I like that. I like that
I
there's
feel like it's not like The Walking Dead doesn't
obviously a lot
want
of
to make a
thought.
quality show. It's just that they're I don't know. I don't their priorities just don't really seem to be in order to me. And
It feels really lazy
yeah,
to me. I mean, that's
they
the only
just they
word I can
just
come up
focus on
with is
action and they're focused on like shocking deaths. So that's like the two main things they seem to want to convey. I feel like it has gotten better. I feel like the ultimate low point of The Walking Dead was the beginning of season 7, and I think it's slowly gotten better
it's pretty
since
bad.
then to the point where I'm not like super against it now, and I think it does some things that are wrong, but I think it's a lot better than it was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, but it's kind of it's the problem is it's not like markedly
Yeah.
better. You know, it's better, but it's I think it's getting more
Hmm.
tiresome. I mean, I think in season 7 it was bad, and people were kind of surprised at how bad it had gotten because I know like there were problems in season 6, definitely some problems, but there was also some really great episodes in season
Hmm.
6, and a lot of kind of interesting, surprising stuff still happening. Season 7, I think, just was well. First of all, we had Negan suddenly show up and suck all the oxygen out of the room, and that hurt the show. Though obviously he has lots of fans, but just overall, the quality slipped in such a surprising way. But it has not recovered back to season
No,
6
no, no.
levels
And
even, and season 6 was not a
no,
high
I think
point.
season 5 is the high point personally. And I don't know. They keep saying like, oh, under Angela Kang, it's going to go back to season 4 and 5 style of whatever. Which I don't. I think that just means more traveling and less like large scale wars. But I genuinely have no idea what
Well,
they're
I'm okay
planning.
with
Like,
that.
it seems like they're going to skip the next comic plot line, which I would not be upset about, and which they almost have to, considering how integral Carl was to that storyline. So um, I am very curious to see what season 9 looks like, and they might lose Maggie to another show, so they might just have to write her out. It's
I'm okay
I'm
with
not
that.
like super opposed to that. I wish they just made her better in the show rather than her just being kicked out or leaving on her own volition. But
I mean, she's just done nothing for
yeah,
ages
yeah,
except for scowl and like have people. There's what I really can't stand about Maggie right now is she's kind of like Madison in Fear the
hmm
Walking Dead, like where people are always telling her how tough
yeah,
she is and always telling other people how tough she is rather than seeing how tough she is. It's this constant like that Maggie, she's such a great leader and she's so strong. And it's
is
like,
she though?
okay, can we just see her doing something
Yeah,
strong? Like what is she doing
yep.
exactly? I mean, she's better than Gregory, but that's a
Yeah,
very
like
low
anyone
bar.
would have been like better than Gregory. Henry would have been better than Gregory.
And I think leadership in general is really poorly
It
handled
has
in
been
this
lately.
show
The only good
because
leadership plotline was kind of Ezekiel's journey of self discovery, whereas like Rick has just gotten
which
way
was sort of
worse, and then
tossed
Maggie's
out.
become almost a non
Mhm.
factor. But
And Negan, his leadership, I mean, is not the
he's
best.
been missing for
It's
like
like
he's been
they're
like
trying to make
not
him
like he
look
was
better.
missing in the aftermath of the first attack, and then he was missing later after Rick's attack. He's been like not really leading his people hardly at all for most of this season.
Yeah. Yeah, and he shows up and everyone just like cowers in fear. It's like
Yeah,
this is
and
not a great
Simon is just like
example
an
of
idiot and like clearly is going to get killed by Negan. Like there was a 1,000%
yeah.
chance that Simon is going to get killed by Negan. Um, Possibly as
I
soon as
just can't
this
think
week.
of
I
a
haven't watched this
single.
week's episode yet, but I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I feel like they have to save something for the finale, but that wouldn't be a very like finale type death because Simon's not a really big
Yeah,
character or anything. Um, I just there aren't any real other than yeah, Ezekiel was a pretty good leader, I guess, but not really much of anyone else has been, and it's kind of weird. I kind of feel sad that Rick has been
well,
sabotaged
Carl was a
so
good
so much.
leader for a couple episodes this
Yeah,
season, which makes his death all the more
yeah, he
frustrating.
was.
But he's like the leader Rick should have
Oh,
been.
that's a good point.
I don't
Hmm.
know.
Like I don't like how like Rick. I feel like they've already sort of walked this path of Rick being this really erratic, unreliable. Like when they got to Alexandria, remember how ridiculous
Yeah,
he
like
was?
beating people up in the street and like just going absolutely
Yeah,
nuts.
and just
Even
like a
then, though, he
loose
wasn't
cannon.
like
And
flat out murdering people. I guess he did murder that one guy, but he kind of deserved it.
he did. Well, he did. Yeah, that's when
Yeah.
Morgan showed back up, and he was like, "Rick." Um, I I wish that they would let Rick grow into a character who was actually a good leader. I mean, his ideas have always been very bad. Like he's never really had great plans. I mean, he led us into this war
Yeah, I
by
mean, he led them to
attacking the
Terminus and
satellite
like
outpost.
he got them in the war with the governor and
Uh-huh.
he got them into the Negan war. Yeah, you're right.
He's been like the worst possible guy to be in charge. Uh Even like after he killed Shane and the horde destroyed the farm, he was like I remember he was like, this is a dictatorship now, like I'm the boss. And then Lori dies and he's like seeing shit and just I mean he's really the worst in so many ways.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And he's just gotten, they just keep making him worse. I want him to grow and become a smarter, more capable leader rather than just continually spiraling with ultimately, like, he never pays the ultimate price for all his bad decisions. Everyone else does around him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm thinking, you remember back in the day when everyone was writing those 5 leadership lessons
Yeah,
posts?
yeah, yeah.
I think I might have to do 5 leadership lessons of Rick
Not
Grimes.
5 not to
Or
learn
maybe
from Rick
just,
Grimes.
yeah, 5 leadership mistakes. Yeah. Hard lessons. Well, yeah. So we have 2 more episodes of The Walking Dead this season, and then we have the premiere of Fear the Walking Dead right after the finale of The Walking Dead on the 16th, I
Is it
believe.
that soon? So yeah, that would make sense.
It is. Yeah. Let me
And
see.
it's
Let
the
me just
double.
double
It's the
check.
double with
Or
Fear, right? Fear's
wait,
coming
20
back the same night.
or 15th.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 15th. Yeah. Yes. So Fear is right
Okay.
afterwards.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
what you're saying? Double? Yeah. So there's yeah, and then we'll be talking about Fear more after that. I think there's some other cool shows coming up. When does Westworld come out? Do you remember?
That's soon. I thought is it May? I'll look it up.
Let's see.
April 22nd. Ah, man, that's soon.
Okay, so that's coming up really soon. So Westworld's going to be going on. We're going to be talking about that. Avengers: Infinity War comes out. What I think the 26th of this month.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's
Big
coming
April,
up,
big April.
and then there's also Solo, a Star Wars story in May. So there's just a bunch of stuff coming up.
Solo already comes out in May.
And
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. And then nothing. And then I don't think we get another one until episode
Yeah, I don't think
9,
so either.
a year and a half later. It's kind of interesting that they're doing it so soon. But so yeah, lots of movies and TV stuff, and then we're also doing our Overworld podcast at Forbes for more video game.
If you want to hear us talk about video
podcast.
games, like it's not like we hate video games now. We're just doing a Forbes video game podcast, so you have to go listen to that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't have that one up on YouTube or anything, but that's I'll link to that. So yeah, lots of podcasts, lots of stuff to talk about, and summer is on its way. So no Game of Thrones though, not until 2019.
Sucks.
So
So bummed about
no,
that.
it really sucks. But I hope that maybe that like the extra time makes for extra good episodes.
I would hope so.
You know, yeah, because last season was
Yeah.
so sad. All right, well, thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys next week.
See ya.